I know that you are going to finish this episode and feel a lot more confident than you did when you found this episode thinking, oh my God, I'm single. How on earth is she going to make me feel positive about this? Because I feel like I am in the trenches. The hardest things to do in a world where you can literally pick up a phone, sign up to a dating app and go on a date that week. Like, it's so quick. Just the timing of my life, and I trust the universe. But I'm just going to obsess over this person just for, I've got a crush on someone, so I'm just going to obsess over it for a little bit. But 100% totally okay with being single. It does not work like that. Those two things do not go together. I was petrified of getting into a new relationship. I was absolutely petrified because I think when you look at it black and white, I had a ring on my finger that meant forever. And that was taken away from me after a 5-minute conversation or a 3-minute conversation. Done. Gone. I bought that How to Get Your Ex Back course because it felt relatable. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. I hope we're all okay. We're back in the studio. We're probably sitting in a slightly different position as we were last week. I feel like last week there was a lot of space above the top half of my head. Just put it that way. I don't know whether I'm just being a little bit of a perfectionist with this, but like I said, trial and error. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. I've had so many new subscribers in the last, I want to say, month-ish, and I never ever know where people start. And if you're listening to this on Spotify and you've been there from the start, I've got like 100, I think I'm on like 151 episodes. And if you started on YouTube, I think I started my YouTube quite well into like my 100 episodes. I can't actually remember, but I never know when people pick me up. Like, I don't know whether when people start listening to me, they think, oh, I'm going to go right back to the start. And sometimes I will go back to the start myself and listen to some of my earlier podcast episodes. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe how far this podcast has come. And I don't know whether it's just this year with me like reflecting, but I've worked very hard at this, and I work really, really hard to put as much accessible, free content out on the internet as I possibly can. I obviously know that therapy isn't accessible to everybody. I try and share as much as I can from my therapy sessions within these podcast episodes, and more and more and more I'm getting more requests on, Lou, how on earth do you see your life now? Like, how are you so positive about it? Like, what do you do? I just can't see a way out. So I'm going to focus in on that today. But I also get so many questions about going no contact. And I made a guide about, I want to say like 6 to 8 months ago. And it still gets so much traction. And most days I log onto my emails and I see so-and-so has purchased your guide, so-and-so has purchased your guide. And I know I have briefly spoken about the course that I signed myself up to whilst in the absolute pits of my breakup. I signed up to a How to Get Your Ex Back course. I have delved deep into the abyss that is my emails. And I cannot find for the life of me any of that course content, which does not surprise me because no evidence it didn't happen. So I think I've kind of tried to erase it from my brain because I can't believe that I brought that course. Actually, no, I can believe I bought it because it was the first breakup I went through. And I felt stupid saying to a therapist, I'm here because of a breakup. And I guess that's why I like sitting here and chatting to you guys, because I know how silly I felt because I was comparing myself to my ex's healing journey, my friends' healing when they had gone through breakups, and I just felt silly. And I didn't think that therapy would help me. I didn't think that I needed therapy, but in actual fact, I did. However, I know that it isn't accessible to everybody. It wasn't accessible to me. And I talk really in depth about affording therapy and how much it costs and stuff on my Patreon. I put myself in a hell of a lot of debt. However, I always caveat with the fact that I own a property, and I knew that I would own another property whilst I was going through therapy. That therapy saved my life, and I felt stupid going to it, and I felt stupid sitting there being like, my ex has just walked out on me, and I don't know what to do. And even when I remember like certain stages of like my ex is going on holiday, or I've seen another photo of my ex with another girl, or I've been messaged again saying, I'm really sorry to have to tell you this, the hey girly messages. Every single time I sat down in that therapist's chair, I felt stupid, because I was like, this is the stuff that people get over. Like, this is the stuff that like everyone goes through. But I'm stepping more and more and more into the fact that like I am me, and I am totally okay with the fact that certain situations are going to affect me more or me less than other people. I think finding your confidence within yourself, not confidence in the fact that, you know, you could walk into a room and talk to anybody, because I could walk into a room and talk to anybody. And yet I had zero confidence in myself, because I would shut the door and I would be like, oh my God, I feel so stupid. I'm really struggling with this, and I don't want to talk to my therapist about it. And sorry, I've gone off on a tangent here. What I'm trying to say is, I get so many messages like, I feel so stupid, but please can I have the link to your no contact guide, because I'm really struggling. And I think it's so normal. I did a post this morning about no contact and how difficult it actually is. And I hope that all the content that I'm putting out at the moment is helping as many people as it possibly can. Fun fact, when I uploaded the video version of my podcast, it got 300 downloads in a day. So I don't know whether video is the way to go on Spotify, because it got so many hits. Anyway, I want to make sure that the content that I'm putting out there is sort of staying relevant with my life, so I can keep updating you with things. But also, I want to make sure that the content I'm putting out there is relatable. And I bought that How to Get Your Ex Back course because it felt relatable. I felt like, oh, okay, so someone else has really struggled with this, and someone else has designed a whole course and they got their ex back. So surely it's going to work for me. And I found all the journal entries the other day from when I did that course and what I was writing in that journal. And honestly, it's the bizarrest thing. One, reading back, because in between those journal entries, I've got journal entries from myself saying like, I am all these qualities and he will come back. But the course itself, crazy. And there's a few things I've seen online where I think, my God, that is so toxic. But I also know that I would have listened to that in the state that I was in, not wanting to go to therapy, feeling embarrassed about the fact that I've not been able to just pick myself up like my ex did. I would have connected with that content. And what I am trying to do is be a safe space online where you can come, you don't have to be embarrassed. Like, I'm pretty sure if you told me anything, the way that you have reacted, the amount that you've cried, what you've done to be able to like get through doing a day no contact, let alone a week, the reasons why you are still texting them, the calling them, what you're writing down in your journal, and like your journal, you are safe here, because I can guarantee that I have also written the same things down, cried the same amount as you, begged, pleaded, and not really understood why. So yeah, I wanted to just remind you that I do have that no contact guide, because it has picked up momentum again. It must be the time of year. And a lot of people are messaging me saying how helpful it's been and how the guide has guided them through 30 days. And I always say, like, caveat, you're not just going to magically wake up after 30 days and think, I don't have to contact my ex anymore. I feel free. I mean, you might, but I didn't. But you will understand why you are feeling like you are feeling. You will understand why you go to your phone. You will understand how to stop going to your phone. You will understand that it's not a failure just to reach out. You will understand that there are circumstances that you do need to actually reach out to your ex. I was trying to go no contact whilst working with my ex. We had to set such firm boundaries as to, being able to talk on the phone, why we would ring each other. That completely stopped. How we spoke about the house, I refused to speak to him over message about the house because he was being really nasty about it. It was just making me upset. So I was like, if you want to come around and talk to me about it, come and talk to me about it, like to my face. Stop ringing me. You can put down really firm boundaries, and that is what my course is all about. So I just wanted to do a little segment to remind you that that course is available, and also you are safe here. You are in a completely safe environment. On my Patreon, I get firm with you. If you listen to my Patreon, you will know that I do get quite firm. And that is because I take a lot of emotion over to my Patreon. It's not to say that a lot of emotion doesn't go into these episodes, because it does. But if you want that extra support and you are really struggling, you can also go over to my Patreon, which again is a safe space. I do not judge. I sometimes sit and cry at some of the messages that I get on there, because I just think, holy shit, I know exactly how you're feeling. I have to basically gently say back to a lot of my Patreon followers, you are not just going to miraculously wake up one morning and think, I hate them, I'm done. You will wake up one morning and think, I hate them. And then in the afternoon, you'll be like, I cannot physically live without them. And then in the evening, you won't want to ring them and ask them what they're doing with their day. And then the next day, you might get a message off somebody, or you might see something online that makes you spiral again. And then the next morning, you might wake up and think, they're the love of my life. That is what going through a breakup is. It is so up and down. And I honestly don't think people talk about that enough. So if you want some extra guidance in no contact, my course is available. If you want some extra guidance on messages or additional episodes, then you can head over to my Patreon. Or these episodes might just be enough, and coming and sitting and having a chat with me every Friday might just be what you need. And that is totally fine by me. I really appreciate you all being here. Like I said, I have grown so much in the last 6 months. I've grown loads, but in the last month I've seen a lot more people come through, which means that my podcast is being shared and it is reaching the right people. And I'm just very grateful that you're all here. Anyway, let's get into this week's episode. I am talking about today something that I read in a book. I think it must have been like last week. And it was around business and business building, and I'm listening it to on audio because I am walking a lot more now. I reduced my steps down to 7,000 steps a day, and I hate to say it, but I did actually notice a difference. So I'm back up now, 10k plus, which you don't have to do. It's just personal preference. But I really did kind of notice a difference. I noticed that I was getting a bit lazier. I was like, 7,000 steps will do. No, I am not that way inclined. I need to be up, out the door, walking with a step count in mind. And now it's a non-negotiable back again for me. So yeah, 10,000 steps. So I'm walking a lot at the moment. So I was like, right, audiobook me up. I need some audiobooks. So I'm learning and listening at the moment to a book about business. And the author said to me in my ears the other day, accept, trust, and release. And that is, if you know about manifesting, that is basically the premise of manifesting. However, it doesn't have to be. You can think these things with anything. Yes, it is manifesting. However, it's not airy-fairy manifesting. So I know that I have some listeners who will message me, and honestly guys, I love your honesty. They will message me like, I'm not into manifesting, I don't believe in it, I don't believe in energy, and yeah, I like listen to your episodes still. I'm a big manifester. I chat to myself all the time in the shower. I do my gratitudes daily. If I don't do them in the morning, I do them in the evening. I make sure that I am constantly signaling to the universe that I believe and know that I am worthy of the life that I have now planned in my head. You might be thinking, oh my God, she is batshit crazy. But I genuinely cannot express to you how much I know that I am going to get there. And for 2 years, I didn't think that. For 2 years, I was in the trenches and I didn't manifest the thing. And you could argue, Lou, did you manifest your breakup? No, is the plain answer to that. However, I was being protected by the universe. So no, I didn't manifest it because I was doing the complete opposite. I was buying my wedding dress, booking my wedding venues, ordering my invites, looking at the guest list, planning a honeymoon. I was doing all of that. So I was doing the complete opposite of manifesting. Then my breakup slapped me in the face. So no, I haven't manifested my breakup. Was I being protected from the universe? Yes, I was. There are different levels that you can kind of explore. However, accept, trust and release does not have to be too whimsical. You can actually apply that to a lot and make it very practical. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to address this and apply this to being single, because I know a lot of people have found me and they're like, oh my God, she's a single girl. How on earth is she so confidently single? So I am going to talk about my single era, and I'm going to apply that to it constantly because I think it's such powerful words. And when you break it down, which I will do, I know that you are going to finish this episode and feel a lot more confident than you did when you found this episode thinking, oh my God, I'm single. How on earth is she going to make me feel positive about this? Because I feel like I am in the trenches. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So I'm going to start out with the most frustrating thing when you are single. And God love my mum. She takes a bit of a battering on this podcast. I love her. I love her. She is the most supportive mum ever. I would not trade her in for anything. My God, that woman, honestly, if I could be half the woman that she is as a wife, as a mother, then I would be happy in life. I love her. But I forget that, she was 70 last week. She comes from an era of like no dating apps, but she does come from an era of like, well, you need to be out there, you need to be putting yourself out there. She also comes from an era of like, oh, time's running out, which she has learnt so well not to say to us. And I think before she would be like really worried, and especially like when I went through my breakup, I was like the OG in the family that had held down a relationship for such a length of time. My eldest sister, my middle sister, my brother, they've all had long-term relationships. But I was like, hey, I met this guy when I was 14 and he's still in our lives. And I think like when she went out, she goes out with the glamorous grannies, they call themselves now because they're all grandmas. But when she goes out with her friends, she talks about us. We are her pride and joy. So when I went through a breakup, it was like she'd gone from saying, oh, like Lou and so-and-so, they're getting married and like it's the year they're getting married, she's found a wedding dress, and it's all that chat that older women love to have. Show pictures of their grandchildren, pictures of their daughters graduating, pictures of their sons going to school, whatever it is, they all love that. And I think my mum really struggled because she didn't want to bring the whole mood of a table down by saying, Lou is really struggling, like she's not well and she's finding this breakup incredibly hard. The following year, it's like, oh, how's Lou? She's still living in the house that she had with her ex. She's still really going through it. She's really struggling. The following year, how's Lou? She's lost her job. So like, I understand that like the conversations that take place within that, like within your family unit are difficult. My mum sometimes slips up in inverted commas. She will sometimes let her worries come out of her mouth. It's very rare. But the other day she did say, time does not stand still, Lou. And I was like, I know that. I know time's not standing still. Christ. My weeks, I blink and it's Friday. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to do all of that again. I need to do all of that week again because I have a routine that I need to, record my podcast, get my YouTube stuff out there, get my shorts out there, record reels, record TikToks. I have a routine. I blink and the routine starts again. And so I know that time doesn't stand still. I know that, but I don't feel like I'm falling behind. And And I definitely do not think that I am missing out on anything. And I've not been on the apps. I wasn't actively out searching. And that wasn't because I didn't believe in love. It used to be. I was petrified of getting into a new relationship. I was absolutely petrified because I think when you look at it black and white, I had a ring on my finger that meant forever. And that was taken away from me after a 5-minute conversation or a 3-minute conversation. Done. Gone. Your trust is going to be shattered after that. So yeah, I did hate love at one point and I dreaded it. And I didn't want to get into a relationship. And I was like so guarded, and I was convinced that, oh, it's okay. Like, I don't have to do a relationship. My relationship part of my life is done now. I'm just going to be single for the rest of my life. I have gone through those motions. Then I was confidently single and wasn't looking. And it wasn't because I hated love. It's because I knew I didn't need to chase it. I knew I didn't need to chase it. I was signaling out to the universe that I was confident, and that I was confident that whatever was meant for me would always, always find me. I knew that I wouldn't have to beg someone to be with me. I knew that I wouldn't have to find somebody and tell them that I am better, be with me, not her. Or like, I wouldn't have to sit in front of someone and say, choose me or her. Like, I knew I didn't want to be a part of any of those situations. I knew that I didn't have to be a part of any of those situations. I have found it within myself because I have accepted that I was single. I have trusted the universe, and then I've just released it. I don't really worry about it. And that's how I view myself as being single. And that might feel uncomfortable to you because you might be thinking, yeah, I know, Lou, but like, I'm really worried about this. And I go back to telling a story about my friend who actually said to me on the phone the other day, and I don't think she listens to these anymore. She used to, because she did go through quite an awful breakup like me. But she said to me on the phone the other day, I can't come to the polo this year because she's planning a wedding. Fine. I get it. I've planned a wedding. It's stressful. I can't come to the polo this year because of the wedding. Although I might actually come because I might be pregnant next year. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I might be pregnant next year. This girl went through a horrendous breakdown of a 9-year relationship. She met who is now the love of her life. And I feel that in my soul, that she has met the love of her life. They got engaged after a year. They got married after 2 years. And next year, she's on about having a baby, which is great. And I think because I'm also surrounded by people like that, as well as my sister, my brother, who have been in long-term relationships, my mum and dad, who have been married for God knows, nearly 50 years. I have like a contrast in like, okay, these are long term, and I would have loved to have stayed in a long term relationship, of course. Like, I envied my mum and dad. I wanted to be able to say to my children, like, I've only ever been in love with your dad. But that is just not the path that I have taken. But equally, I've got friends now that I look at and I think, you weren't even looking. She wasn't even looking. She wasn't even looking. And now she's now further on in her life than she was after 3 years than being in a 9-year relationship. And that's because the guy that she found chose her and continues to choose her. And so when I say that I am confident in the fact that I do not have to chase, all these little things around you, all these little scenarios around me are making me feel more confident that I don't. Hence the reason why I sit here and tell you these stories, because you might not have that in your life. I've had a message recently from someone saying, like, all my friends in relationships, how on earth do you cope? You know, I know that some people haven't got that around them, but it is a thing. You do not have to chase down love. And so around this episode, I want to also give you some practical shifts that you can make so you are not just listening and thinking, yeah, I'll do that, or like, oh, I'm not at that stage yet. You're actually like embodying the advice that I give to you. Because there's one thing understanding what I'm saying, but there's another thing of actually putting it into practice. And I'm the world's worst for this. Like I said, I'm listening to a business book at the moment, and she's like, right, at the end of this chapter, you need to go home, you need to do the homework. I think I'm 4 chapters in and I've done no homework. Like, you have to make the time for it, and you have to sit down and you have to really embody the advice that someone is giving you. Else, it's not going to change, and you're going to listen to this episode and for one day feel absolutely amazing, and you're going to feel like, oh my God, do you know what? I feel so confident because I've listened to that episode that Lou did, and I just feel like, yeah, this is great. And then the next day, because you haven't put into practice what I've told you, you're going to be like, well, it didn't work. Because when you are going through a breakup, the one thing you're looking for is a quick pain relief fix, and you can't get them. They don't exist when you're having a breakup. It's not a thing. I'm going to start with the biggest misunderstanding of why people think you are not looking for love. I am not looking for love out of fear, avoidance, giving up, thinking that there's like hardly anybody out there. And I did an episode on my Patreon the other day because someone actually stood in front of me and said to my face, there is just no one out there. And I was like, what? How do you know that? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, you do not need to be hearing those things. And I'm not looking for love because I'm avoiding it, I'm giving up on it. There's a much more powerful reason as to why I'm not looking for love. And that is because I am not lacking. I am not lacking in the love department. I am not lacking. And that is a completely different energy. The minute that you signal out into the universe or signal to people around you that you are not lacking, your energy shifts. And like I said, and getting like a level deeper in this, if you are looking, your brain is in a constant state of seeking and trying to seek something out, which means your brain is signaling to you you're missing something and you're missing out. But when you choose not to search for it, not from avoidance, but from like a wholeness of thinking, oh, do you know what? Enough love in my life. You now shift into an energy state of like sufficiency. And you start telling yourself, I'm enough. I have enough. My life is enough. And all of a sudden, from that place, you are not trying to get love. You are no longer trying to gain love because you're missing something. You become a person who naturally receives it. And if you follow me on my Patreon, I talk a lot about the fact that when I first went through kind of like, it was like year 2 after I was left, I was saying to my parents and saying to everyone around me, like, oh my God, there's no one around me. I'm not finding anybody. I'm not attracting anybody into my life. And then I looked at my friendship group and I was like, okay, half these people I didn't even know 2 years ago. There is somebody in my life, my best friend, Isabel. I didn't even know her when I was in my relationship. I met her in the early days of 2022 and she was my absolute lifeline. I attracted her into my life. We were both going through traumatic breakups. We attracted each other into our lives. My 2 best friends, Preston and Ross, I did not even know who they were. I'd never met them in my whole life. And yet I attracted them into my life. They are the core 3 people that I think have come into my life and completely changed my outlook on the fact that I do attract love. Because these people will now be with me for the rest of my life. They're going to be my lifelong friends. And like I was joking the other day with Preston, and I was like, you know, when I get married, you're going to have to be like a equivalent of like a bridesmaid, but a groomsman, but like on my side. And he was really laughing because, and that's how you need to reframe certain things. No, I didn't find and attract somebody into my life who I was like head over heels with. But I attracted so much love. These people healed parts of my heart that they did not break. They picked me up off the floor continually, over and over and over. And they listened to me tell the same stories over and over again. And not once did they ever say, God, we've gone over this. Are we talking about this again? You need to get over it now. Never. Those words never came out of my mouth. I am so particular as to who I go to when I want to talk about certain things, because some people will just say, you need to get over it now. And I just think it's really hurtful, and it comes from a place of like no support. And those people are the people that you don't need to go to with heavy stuff. I have my core people who I go to when heavy stuff happens. And I know that I'm going to be supported when I go to them. So the minute that you stop seeking and the minute that you step into a state of like, oh, actually I am surrounded by love, you naturally attract more of it. And I wanted to start there because I think so often when you listen to people talk about being single, they're like, it's not a waiting room. And I mean, I say it all the time, it isn't a waiting room, but I wanted to go deeper than that. So moving on to the first word, which was accept. And I think this is one of the hardest things to do in a world where you can literally pick up a phone, sign up to a dating app and go on a date that week. Like, it's so quick. And I think that being accepting is so much more than just being okay. Like, it is so much deeper than that. Acceptance, on the whole, with being single, is the moment that you stop arguing with yourself about your life. That is accepting. That is when you are accepting being single, because you don't realize how much the little internal niggles of like the low level resistance that you give to yourself is actually draining the life out of you. The constant little background thoughts of like, oh my God, this shouldn't be how it is. Oh my God, I should be with somebody else right now. Oh my God, God, she's pregnant. Oh my God, she's engaged. Oh my God, like I'm behind. It's causing friction, and that is creating emotional exhaustion for you, because outwardly you're like, oh my God, I'm so fine. And then when you get home, you're like, oh my God, I'm not fine. I don't want to be single anymore. And I'm really struggling and I'm never going to find it. And I'm not doing enough. And I should be on more apps and I need to sign up immediately and literally just scroll through everybody, and it's horrible. And if there is one thing that I am good at doing, it is being black and white. I think that's why I went into law. Well, I know that's why I went into law, because the law is the law, and then I met criminal law, and the law wasn't the law. The law could be different law, and there was a big fat grey area, and I did not like criminal law. Too many grey areas, too many what ifs, but fors. It was too much. But I am very black and white. So if you were to take this situation of you being single and make it completely black and white, instead of asking yourself like, oh my God, why is this happening? Why am I still single? Why are you not asking yourself, what happens if this is strategically correct? Black and white. And this is what I mean. This phrase, accept, trust, release, might sound whimsical, but you can actually get very black and white and very practical with it. And so when you ask yourself, what happens if this is strategically correct? You are telling yourself that this is right. Not like, oh, like, why is this happening? And then searching for loads of answers. This is strategically correct in my life right now. If I was to sit down and have a business meeting about my life, they would say, this is strategy-wise, this needs to happen. That just literally reminded me of my old job. But strategically, this needs to happen. This is the period of your life where you are collaborating. You are making sure that you don't need rescuing. You are making sure that you are confident. This strategically in your life, if you were to plan out your entire life as a business plan and broke it down into quarters, you are in the business plan of your life where actually right now you have to be single. You have to be single. And you get to design your whole life. And yes, I know you designed an entire life with somebody else and you are not living that life anymore. I understand. I get it. However, every time you sit there and you resist your current reality, sit with it and say to yourself, this is part of the design. It's not a detour. You're not detouring. You've not just like gone off piste. This is the actual design of your life. This is what needs to happen in order for the life that you are designing right now. This is what needs to happen. You need to be single. And all you're doing here, and it's something that my therapist taught me really, really, really early on, is that you are creating a safe environment for yourself. And the minute that you start creating a safe environment for yourself, the more your confidence grows. And I hadn't really realized just how much I'd neglected that. And I was saying to people, oh my God, yeah, I'm totally fine. Then I was coming home and I was like, oh my God, I'm not fine. So then my confidence wasn't growing. And people were saying to me, oh yeah, she seems fine. And I was having this internal conversation with myself constantly, like, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. And I'm behind and I'm missing something. The minute that I shifted that into, oh my God, I have so much love in my life and this has to happen now, because I'm going to look back at this time in my life and think, thank God I did that. And it's not easier for me because my story isn't easy and what I've been through isn't easy, but like I have a big focus, and my focus is obviously this and building a business and a presence online. But I have a big focus. However, it hasn't always been like that. I've had a year before where I haven't had a big focus, and I have just had to sit with myself and be like, this is what is needing to happen now. This is the design of my life, not a detour. The second word, trust. A big fat word that we all hate when we go through a breakup, because you don't trust anybody. And I speak to a lot of mainly women, and it is mainly women, about their trust, and they're saying, and they're like, how can I trust myself because I didn't walk away? And I was also that person, because there was instances, and I talk about it on my Patreon, where I should have walked away. I should have packed my bags and left the house, and I didn't, because I didn't trust myself that I would have been okay. Trust is a huge, huge topic, but here I'm telling you that you need to trust yourself to relax completely. And I think that it's funny because I hear a lot of people around me say, I'm trusting the timings of my life, I'm trusting the universe, I'm trusting it. And their whole body is in like a complete state of panic, and their nervous system is not marrying up with what they're actually saying, because they don't trust the universe. They're just trying to project something out, because again, they're shutting the door and they're sitting there panicking because they don't trust the universe. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust anything. They're questioning everything. They're checking. They're wondering, oh, do I just sign up for that app just to have a look, just to make myself feel better that there is people out there? I just need to tick a box to say, oh God, yeah, this guy wants to take me on a date. I've still got it. But I trust the universe. I trust the timing of my life, and I trust the universe. But I'm just going to obsess over this person just for, I've got a crush on someone, so I'm just going to obsess over it for a little bit. But 100% totally okay with being single. It does not work like that. Those two things do not go together. Like, honestly, I could bang some people's head against the wall, because I'm like, well, you don't trust the timing of your life, and you're not trusting the universe if you're then telling me that you are going to somebody else for the validation that you lack, the love that you think you lack. Like, guys, in the words of my best friend, girl, like, it's not a thing. Real trust feels calm. Real trust feels neutral. Real trust feels unrushed, unfazed. And I go back to the earlier point about my poor mum saying about, time not stopping still. I did not jump down her throat. I didn't go like, why are you saying that to me? Why are you doing that? Why are you reminding me? There's no need to do that. And she said it, and I was like, okay. And she was like, I know you know that. And I was like, yeah, I do know that. But also like, okay. It didn't bother me. It's been something that I've been able to talk about on my podcast now, but it did not bother me, because I was like, yeah, that's your belief. And time does not stand still, but that doesn't mean that I have to be out there searching. And before, I know for a fact that if she'd have said that to me maybe a couple of years ago, my God, hell would have broke loose. I'd have been jumping down her throat, screaming, because I would not actually feel confident in being single. I wasn't trusting myself. I wasn't trusting the timing of my life. I was just sort of saying it to try and convince myself. But my nervous system was in a state of sheer panic. And time is such a big thing. And people say like, oh my God, it's been X amount of time and I haven't found anybody. Oh my God, I've been single for this many years and I've not found anybody. Oh my God, I've been on a dating out for 3 weeks and I haven't got a date. And we are naturally, as human beings, going to measure everything in time. But what would happen if you stopped measuring things in time and started measuring things in alignment? Because if you measure your life with outcomes and time, I should be doing this and this should have happened by now, you will always feel like you are behind. If you measure yourself and how you're living in alignment, instead of telling yourself, I should be doing, and asking yourself, am I living in a way that feels true to me today? You are not behind. The bar that you have raised with time Because how do you measure the outcome of that sentence? On feelings. Am I living in a way that feels true to me today? Not, oh my God, I've been single for 2 years. I should be. You see how it like shifts completely, and that you are actually giving yourself the grace and the love that you deserve. And one of the things that my therapist picked up with me very early is that I am very practical. I have to be writing things down, journaling things, or like I have to see things. She used to say to me, how did you revise for exams? And I would say, oh, I'd like have post-it notes everywhere. I was very color-coded. I used to sit in my law exams. They were closed book. So we'd have to recite the law and the law that went to points. Now I've just reminded myself of that. I actually cannot believe that I did that. But we used to have to go into these exams closed book. And I remember the highlight colour in the book, and I would visualise myself highlighting like different paragraphs and stuff. I am very practical. And so my therapist used to arm me with things that I could take away if I was going into panic mode, if I was like, you know, felt a panic attack coming on. And one of the things that I still do now sometimes when I feel overwhelmed is I will sit in stillness for 2 minutes, and you guys can do this too, but I will sit in stillness for 2 minutes when I start to feel overwhelmed, and I will remind myself, I don't know when, I don't know how, and I'm still okay. And that will pull you down off the ceiling so many times. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm still okay. You're grounding yourself. You're bringing yourself back down to the present tense. I am still okay. Right now, you're still okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. Like, that's how you build emotional stability within yourself. You have to be able to remind yourself that you have got you. And the minute that you lose you, the minute all of these things will be undone. That's what I mean by like listening to this episode and practically engaging with it, because one day you will wake up and you will have forgotten this episode and you'll be back to square one again. Practically remind yourself that you can do these things too. They're really easy things to do. They're just really hard to implement, and to remember to implement them into your life. The final thing is release. Now, if you know anything about manifesting, this is the hardest part, and this is the hardest part of anything. Releasing anything into your life out of your life is very hard. And people lose this concept quickly when they are manifesting, when they are thinking about releasing emotions. This is where people get stuck, because you are gripping onto something that you cannot control. Releasing isn't about letting go of desire. It's about letting go of the attachment you have to the outcome. And so many people will say, I trust it's going to happen. And you might be one of these people. And I know I used to do it. I trust it's going to happen. I trust that it's going to happen. And then I'm like, oh my God, but my God, it's taking ages. I want it to happen soon. I trust it's going to happen, but why is it not happening now? I trust it's going to happen, but I want it to happen like within the next year. That's pressure. And I found myself doing it last year. And if you listen to my episodes on my Patreon last year, I was so vocal about meeting my husband. I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to chuck my husband in, 2026, year of the husband. I hadn't realised just how much pressure I put on this year. I don't feel the pressure now because I've done some more work, and practically as well, there is a shit ton going on. And I don't actually think I have time, which scares me more. And this is how I know I've shifted my mindset around it. It scares me more because I know for a fact someone is going to walk into my life when I least expect it, and I'm going to be like, oh shit, this is my soulmate, and I'm still business building, and I know that it's going to be the universe teaching me that I can do certain stuff at the same time, because at the minute I definitely think that I am like blocking it because I have so much to focus on. Anyway, I do know that oh God, but it needs to happen soon does come. It's a normal thing. It's a human thing. And like I said, it's not trust, it's pressure, it's internal pressure. And you will just start getting frustrated with yourself. You need to change your perspective. Attachment isn't about wanting something. It's about knowing that you can feel okay until you have it. And so the work isn't to go out looking for less, to want less. You know, when people say, oh my God, you're so picky. I did I said it in last week's, didn't I? Like, you're so picky and, you know, you're never going to find somebody because your expectations are so high. Ew, no, get out, go away. Don't put me in that box. I don't want to be in that box. I'm not picky. I just know what I deserve. And that's what I mean. Releasing isn't letting go of your desire. It's not about letting go of the end goal. It's about releasing the attachment you have to the outcome. So the work isn't to want less. It's to expand your capacity to feel fulfilled without it. And so the practical steps that you can take with this, something, again, that's come from my therapist, something called closure loops. And this is not closure loops on stuff that you want closure from. This is like closure loops on your day. So when you feel yourself saying to your friends, I trust the timings of my life. I trust everything. Everything's happening in my favor. I trust it. I know that it's coming. And then you're going home and going, yeah, but when? When is this going to happen? When is this going to come true for me? When am I going to find my husband? When is that going to happen? Gently interrupt yourself and your own thoughts with, your life is happening now. Your life is happening now. Life is happening now. And your brain, and as humans, our brains love completion. Your brain will love just having tasks that are completed. So if you create these closure loops on your day and remind yourself, like, life is happening now. And I used to be the world's worst, because if my day ended unresolved, oh my God, it sent me spiraling. And I would find myself picking up my phone and like dialing my ex, because my brain would then switch to something that I think that I'm missing, which was love. So then I'd go back and I'd find myself messaging and like texting just because like my day felt unresolved. And the best thing I ever did was create a really small habit at the end of the day, which was to have a peppermint tea, wash my face and go to bed. I still do it now. My peppermint tea is a signal to my brain that the day is done and the day is closed. And that is my closure loop. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, but now you're talking about your day, you're not talking about being single. This all contributes to how you feel daily. Accepting, trusting and releasing and being single all contributes to how you show up in your life. So these practical steps of like creating closure loops on your day and being able to say, right, today's done. So you are less likely to lay in bed and think, oh my God, I need to get on dating apps. Well, it doesn't feel done. I don't feel done. Give your brain the sense of today is complete. And this reduces your emotional grasping. This reduces you sat thinking, oh my God, I need to actually find somebody, because being able to ground yourself and bring yourself into the present day and to be able to remind yourself life is happening now literally makes you lose all grip on fixating and your attachment to an outcome. And what this relates into is what I would always talk about with being single, is that you don't feel like you're sat in a waiting room. You don't feel like your day is just like, oh, okay, another day single. When is it going to happen? That stops. These things and these practical steps stop you from thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to cope being single? And when people say, Lou, how do you cope being single? This is why I do what I do and why I sit and have a podcast. Because could you imagine me putting all of this into a message back to somebody? It's such an open-ended question. And that should give you some sort of idea of actually just how difficult it is to grasp. And knowing that now, hopefully you don't berate yourself as much as you are doing with finding being single really difficult. And when people are saying to you, just trust the timings of your life, and you're like, yeah, just timings of my life. And then you're coming home and thinking, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to trust the timings of my life. I don't know how to accept that I'm single. I don't know how to release the attachment that I have to the outcome that I don't know when I'm going to get. It's really, really tough. And so if this episode resonated with you, I just want to remind you of 3 things that I wrote down. Accept where you are. Just accept it. You don't need to search to receive at all. That belief of like searching to receive, not for me. That's why I said, some people do sit in front of people and go, choose. It could just never be me. Like, choose her or me, or choose that life or this life. Like, you do not need to search for somebody. You do not need to seek that out to receive at all. Trust what you can't see yet. Trust that it's coming. You don't have to rush through life just to arrive at something. You don't just have to rush through all the like society pressures of like getting married, having children, meeting someone, and then quickly doing everything. You do not have to rush to arrive. Just trust what you can't see yet. 100%. I couldn't see my breakup. It happened. I didn't trust it. Now I completely understand why it had to happen. And release what you can't control. This is so hard for control freaks like me. Release what you can't control. You do not need to prove anything to be worthy of love. Absolutely nothing. Love will arrive and show up for you as you are. And you'll go, oh, but, and they'll go, no, it's fine. I love everything about you. And you'll go, this is a really strange feeling because I always thought that I just needed to do X or I just needed to do that. Love will literally show up for you and it will come in abundance and you will be like, oh my God, this is why I had to accept, trust and release, because now it's shown up. I completely understand why. And I think being able to trust what you can't see yet is really powerful. It's really hard, but it is really powerful. And with enough amount of work into absolutely everything that I preach about, and I am designing a course at the moment around detaching from your ex, and there's going to be 3 types of courses that you can enroll on, different levels, because it's so easy to say to somebody, trust the timings of your life, and people go, but how? Or it's like, yeah, but I'm still caught up on this, or I can't detach from that. I am designing something that will go alongside of being single and stepping into the motions of being single, because I feel like I've truly designed a life that is mine. I think that's why I'm so confident in the fact that someone will show up for me from a complete alignment, and it won't be from urgency. It won't be, oh, we can be together now because you're not with somebody and I'm not with somebody. It won't be that. It will come from complete alignment, and you'll meet it as somebody who isn't waiting. Like you're not waiting. You're not waiting for them to realize that you're worth it. You're not waiting for them to leave their girlfriend. You're not waiting for them to just do better, like just realize how good you are. You'll meet them as someone who is completely whole, and that will radiate off of you. Trust me. I hope this episode has helped. Like I said, if you need more help with going no contact, I have the guide. If you want more episodes and a little bit more support, you can sign up to my Patreon. And like I said, there is a big course coming in the pipeline. It's taking a little bit of time to build because there's going to be videos and then all sorts, but that is coming and it will be available soon. Like I said, there'll be 3 different options. One of the options as well will include one-to-one time with me, which is something that I was toying with. There'll be limited amounts of spaces per month, but it is something that I am going to dive into, considering I must get around 20 requests a week to speak to people one-on-one. So that will also be available. If none of that applies to you and you just hear for the vibes and you're here for these episodes, then I will see you next week, guys. Have yourself a lovely weekend. Bye.